I apologize for that interruption. We continue in the bottom of the first inning, where Francisco Lindor had a 2-out single off of John Lester and just stole second. It is currently a 2-0 count to Mike Napoli, as David Ross couldn't control the follow on the throw, and Lindor easily advances into scoring position for the Indians. Again, a 2-out single off of Lester for Lindor, and Lindor continues to have a fantastic postseason. And here's a 2-0 pitch to Mike Napoli. Lester has to be careful here, as Napoli, one of the better power hitters on this Indians team. And he stares down David Ross. Here he goes. Here's the windup. And the pitch from John Lester. 2-0 count is low and away. 3-0 to Mike Napoli, with Carlos Santana waiting on deck. Cleveland Indians still taking a few. Getting a little bit ready to get going. Here we go. 3-0 pitch from John Lester to Mike Napoli is going to be strike one. Outside corner, 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Stays alive. It's 3-1. Still with Carlos Santana on deck. That one just caught the outside corner from Lester. And it's still a hitter's count, though, for Mike Napoli. 3-1. Expect him to have a hard swing here. Here is the 3-1 from John Lester. And it misses high and away, ball 4. And there's runners on first and second for the Cleveland Indians, with Carlos Santana coming up to the plate. What a prime opportunity to get to strike first in the World Series for the Cleveland Indians, as John Lester, after striking out the first batter, Rajai Davis, and then getting Jason Kipnis to line out to first base, he gave up a 2-out single to Francisco Lindor and then walked Mike Napoli on 5 pitches to bring up Santana, who's batting 172 this postseason with 2 home runs and 2 RBIs. And Lester stares him down. Here we go. He's in the stretch. First pitch from John Lester to Santana is low and away. Ball 1. On deck after Santana is Jose Ramirez. Exciting for the Cubs. Due up next inning is Zobrist, Schwarber, and Baez. And here is the 1-0. Napoli on first with Lindor on second. A base hit makes it 1-0 Indians. 1-0 pitch, outside, fastball, 2-0 to Santana. And you have to wonder if John Lester, the nerves are getting to him here in this World Series game, and he's starting to lose a little bit of touch on his fastball. As the Cubs can't really do much now, their ace is falling behind on the best hitters in this Indians lineup as he stares him down from the stretch. The 2-0 to Carlos Santana. 16th pitch of the inning from Lester. 2-0 is outside again, 3-0. As patiently on deck is Jose Ramirez, the third baseman. He is hitting .222 this postseason and looks forward to, or is hoping for a bases loaded opportunity here in the bottom of the first. Indians base running. They were first in scoring from second on singles, second in stolen base percentage, second in extra bases, fourth in stolen bases, and third in percentage scoring after reaching base. It is a very quick Indians team, and you can expect them to be running all series long, especially after that first stolen base from Francisco Lindor. As here comes a 3-0 pitch to Carlos Santana. Terry Francona watches from the Indians dugout. And here we go. 3-0 pitch from Lester is called strike one. Santana wasn't sure about it. It did look a little low from this perspective, but it apparently caught the lower part of the zone, and Lester stays alive. It's 3-1 to Carlos Santana. Another hitter's count, however, for an Indians player. And here is the 3-1 to Santana. Lester kicks and deals from the stretch. Here's the 3-1. Ball 4 inside, and back-to-back walks from Lester have loaded up the bases with 2 outs in the bottom of the first. John Lester, after getting the first 2 batters out on 5 pitches, has given up a single and 2 walks. And the Cubs are in danger of allowing the Indians to strike first here in Game 1 of the World Series. Up with the bases loaded and 2 outs is the third baseman, Jose Ramirez. Ramirez batting .222 with no home runs, 1 RBI, and 4 runs scored this postseason. Here comes the first pitch from Lester. His 19th pitch of the inning is a strike up in the zone, 93-mile-an-hour fastball, and he's ahead on Jose Ramirez. Lindor on third, Napoli on second, and Santana on first for the Indians. Bases loaded, 2 outs here in the bottom of the first inning. 1-0-1 pitch to Ramirez from Lester. Kicks and deals. And he grounds it down the line. No play for Chris Bryant. Ramirez with an RBI infield single. And the Indians strike first in Game 1 of the World Series. It's 1-0 Cleveland. A RBI infield single from Jose Ramirez, a chopper down to third base. That scores Francisco Lindor, and they have struck off of John Lester, and it will bring up Brandon Geyer with the bases still loaded. That's the 4th straight base runner reaching for the Indians with 2 outs. And you have to wonder if John Lester has lost his touch in this game. Jose Ramirez comes up clutch in the bottom of the first and scores Francisco Lindor on an infield single. And it brings up Brandon Geyer with the bases loaded and 2 outs here in the bottom of the first. It's 1-0 Cleveland over the Chicago Cubs here in Game 1 of the World Series. This postseason, teams scoring first are 20-8 overall, 11-0 in the League Championship Series. And here is the first pitch to Brandon Geyer, who's hitting .375 this postseason, but he's frozen on a curveball right down the middle from Lester. Strike 1. As I mentioned, Brandon Geyer batting .375 this postseason with 1 RBI, 8 at-bats, 3 hits for Geyer, and he gets the start in left over Coco Crisp. Here's the 0-1 pitch, and he popped it up. Is there room for David Ross? There is not. Foul out of play by Brandon Geyer, and it's quickly 0-2 from John Lester. 22 pitches into the bottom of the first inning. If you're just joining us, after Corey Kluber sat down the side for the Cubs, John Lester sat down the first 2. World Series fact: there are 18 grand slams, the last by Paul Konerko in 2005. But after retiring the first 2 batters, Lester has given up 2 hits and 2 walks, and the Indians have a 1-0 lead with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Brandon Geyer on the 0-2 pitch. Lester. Did it hit him? It did hit him. Lester hits him on an 0-2 pitch. Geyer takes first. In the score is Napoli. It's 2-0 Cleveland here from Progressive Field. And John Lester might be getting a pitching visit. As Napoli scores and is mobbed by his teammates, Geyer takes first after being hit on an 0-2 pitch. You just can't do that in the Fall Classic. And that brings up the 8-hitter, Lonnie Chisenhall, the right fielder. Lonnie Chisenhall comes into this game with batting .269 with a home run, 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and there will be a pitching visit with John Lester. It is a full infield meeting as Russell, Ross, Bryant, Baez, and Rizzo all meet with Lester on the mound, along with pitching coach David Honeycutt. But Lester seems to have figured something out as he is back on the mound, ready to face the 8-hitter Lonnie Chisenhall. Chisenhall, the lefty in this Indians order, after Geyer was hit on the thigh by an 0-2 pitch from Lester. Geyer on first, Santana on third. I apologize. Ramirez on second. Geyer on first. Chisenhall swings through the first pitch fastball in the outside corner. And once again, John Lester ahead in the count 0-1. Lester has thrown his 24th pitch of the inning. Like I said, Lonnie Chisenhall, .269 with a home run and 4 RBIs. His on-base plus slugging is .689. Very impressive for the right fielder as he takes a fastball outside 1-1 to Lonnie Chisenhall. Lester trying to get out of this inning with minimal damage, but he's already given up 2 runs to the Cleveland Indians. And John Lester does not look like himself, or like he has all postseason long, and all season long, really. But on a 1-1 pitch, foul ball from Chisenhall. Ross is gonna get there running into the screen. What an effort from the veteran David Ross. And it gets John Lester out of the inning. It took 3 hits, or a hit batter, 2 walks, and 2 hits, and 2 runs given up by John Lester. And after an inning in the World Series, the Cleveland Indians lead the Chicago Cubs 1-0. We'll be right back after this. And welcome back to the live broadcast of Game 1 of the MLB World Series from Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio. The Chicago Cubs take on the Cleveland Indians. And after an inning of play, it is 2-0 Cleveland over Chicago, with Chicago's heart of the order due up against Corey Kluber. First up this inning will be Brent Zobrist, followed by the newcomer back from a torn ACL, Kyle Schwarber. And then batting third this inning will be second baseman, the superhero for the Cubs this postseason, Javier Baez. This game is brought to you by Honda. Live life accordingly. And also by the new movie Inferno, in theaters Friday, coming to theaters near you, rated PG-13. Indians back in their first postseason since 1997, with the Cubs in their first World Series since 1945. If you didn't hear this earlier, the last time the Cubs were in the World Series, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president, and the NBA hadn't been formed yet. That's how long the Cubs have been waiting for this moment. And they find themselves trailing 2-0 after an inning of play, thanks to Francisco Lindor and others helping plate runs for the Cleveland Indians. Corey Kluber back on the mound here to face Ben Zobrist to start the top of the second. Here's the first pitch. And Kluber throws a strike high and away. 92-mile-an-hour fastball to Zobrist. Zobrist comes into this game batting .167 this postseason with 3 RBIs and a .494 OPS. And here's the 0-1 from Kluber. Strike 2, caught the lower half on an 82-mile-an-hour curveball. And it's quickly 0-2 from the Cleveland ace, Corey Kluber. Ben Zobrist has primarily played second base in his time with the Cubs, but with Javier Baez on his tear lately, he has moved to left field so that they both can play. Here's the 0-2 from Kluber, and a fastball way outside the zone. 1-2 from Kluber, number 28 of the Indians. He's 30 years old in his 6th season out of Stetson, the 6'4", 215-pound right-hander. And here's the 1-2. Zobrist swing, and that's the first hit of the World Series for the Chicago Cubs. Past Rajai Davis into right center field. It is a leadoff double for Ben Zobrist, and it will bring up the man that Chicago has been waiting on for 6 months, Kyle Schwarber. This man, in 1 year, became the all-time Cubs postseason home run leader with 5. He hit 5 home runs in 9 games last year, and he will try and hit this game on a torn ACL. A very brave risk for the Cubs and Schwarber as he steps into the batter's box to a standing ovation from the Cleveland crowd. Kluber stands on the mound and looks down Kyle Schwarber, who comes into he is the first player to play in MLB history within a team's first 10 games of the season and then not again until the World Series. He's 0 for 4 this season, and he takes ball one low on a two-seam fastball from Corey Kluber. Kyle Schwarber, a much-awaited return from not just Cubs fans, but all of baseball. Everyone loves to see the talent that this young kid brings to the table for the Chicago Cubs as a catcher and outfielder. And we can't wait to see him play the field more next season. Here's the 1-0 to Schwarber. It is inside, another two-seam fastball from Kluber, and he's quickly in a hitter's count, 2-0. Be careful if you're Corey Kluber, as in MLB history again. Kyle Schwarber, the first position player to play 2 or fewer regular season games and then start in the World Series. And also the first player in the history of baseball to not get a hit in the regular season and start Game 1 of the World Series. Here's the hitter's count, 2-0 to Schwarber, and he swings right through another two-seam fastball. It is 2-1, and you could tell Schwarber was trying to hit his 6th career postseason home run there and tie the game at 2. He swung right on that bad knee. And showing no fear, he swung on that swing would have put that ball into the Quicken Loans Arena across the street where the Cavs are playing the Knicks right now. And here comes the 2-1 from Corey Kluber after he just hit his 20th pitch of the game. Top 2, runner on second after a leadoff double from Ben Zobrist. It is 2-0 Cleveland Indians here in Game 1 of the World Series presented by Honda. And here is the 2-1 from Corey Kluber. He kicks and deals. It is up high, and 3-1 to one of the best power hitters in baseball, Kyle Schwarber. Although he is 0 for 3 in his career against Corey Kluber, he struck out all 3 at bats he's ever faced him last August. But he's got a 3-1 hitters count here in the World Series with the tying run at the plate. First, the runner on second for the Cubs is going to stay put. 3-1 pitch. It is a fastball that catches the inside corner. Full count to Kluber, or full count from Kluber to Schwarber. With on deck is Javier Baez, the superhero for the Chicago Cubs, and he waits for his opportunity to try and get the Cubs back in the bottom of the first. Kyle Schwarber stares down Corey Kluber. 2 giants of baseball face on a full count, and Schwarber goes down swinging on a fastball. 3rd strikeout of the day for Corey Kluber, and he gets the big first out of the inning. Zobrist has to stay on second. Schwarber swung right through a 93-mile-an-hour four-seam fastball up in the zone, and I have to say, if he was healthy on that knee, I think he would have hit that ball he would have had a much better swing. Way less compact. It looks like with that left knee, he can't swing as well as he'd like to, and he heads back to the dugout as the 3rd strikeout victim of Corey Kluber tonight. Into the box steps Javier Baez. Baez enters this game batting .342 for the Cubbies. He has been their best hitter this postseason, and he looks to get another run in for the Cubs as he takes strike 1 low from Kluber, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. And Baez, again, .342 this postseason with 1 home run, 7 RBIs, and an astounding .892 OPS rating. But he's facing one of the best pitchers in baseball, Corey Kluber, who has shown no signs of stopping so far today in this World Series game. 3 strikeouts and only 1 base runner on a double from Zobrist. The 0-1, he could not check his swing. It is quickly 0-2 to the Cubs' best hitter this postseason, Javier Baez. On deck waits the Cubs' 7-hitter, which is Chris Coghlan, getting the start in this game over Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward benched for poor play in the playoffs, even though he signed an 8-year, $184 million contract with the Cubs this past season. He is not playing in the World Series, the first World Series game for the Cubs in 71 years. 0-2 to Baez is a slider away, and he stays alive. It's 1-2 from Kluber. 10 postseason RBIs from Javier Baez. That's the second most in Cubs history. That just shows you how much the Cubs have not been in the playoffs the past century. They haven't won. They haven't been to a World Series in 71 years. Haven't won one in 108 years. Only 2 World Series championships in franchise history, 1907 and 1908. And they're looking for their first one in over 100 years. Here's a 1-2 to Javier Baez. And time is called by Baez as Kluber was looking too long into the plate. And Baez didn't like the look of that one. Baez continues to take practice cuts, looking like he wants to swing for the fences here on this 1-2 count from Kluber. Kluber has only given up 1 home run this postseason, only 18 home runs all regular season in 32 starts. Very solid numbers. But here comes a 1-2 to Baez. Kluber. It is another slider low in the dirt, and it will be 2-2 to Baez. Gets away from Perez for a second, but Ben Zobrist will stay put at second base. Tonight's umpires: Larry Vanover, the home plate umpire, the crew chief John Hirschbeck at second base, Marvin Hudson at third, Chris Guccione at first, Tony Randazzo in left, and James West out in right. Welcome to top of the second, 2-2 count to Javier Baez. It's a 2-0 Cleveland lead as Corey Kluber has been dominant so far in Game 1 of the World Series presented by Honda. Here is the 2-2 pitch from Corey Kluber. Stares down Baez, and he got him looking on the outside corner. It is the 4th strikeout for Corey Kluber in the first six batters he has faced, and it brings up the replacement for the Cubs, taking the place of Jason Hayward, Chris Coghlan, in his first career World Series at bat, as Kluber threw a beautiful 2-seam fastball that caught the outside part of the plate and froze Baez. And it's the 4th strikeout of the game for Kluber. And here comes the lefty, Chris Coghlan. Coghlan with 2 outs and a runner on second here in the top of the second inning. He batted .252 in the regular season with 1 home run and 16 RBIs. He's 0 for 4 this postseason. And he takes a curveball high and away, 1-0 from Kluber. 83 miles an hour on that curveball. And Kluber throws. Here comes the 30th pitch of the game from Corey Kluber. Very efficient game so far from the Indians ace, as Dexter Fowler watches from the Cubs dugout. Here is the 1-0 to Coghlan. And that one is caught the upper part of the zone. Coghlan acted like it was going to hit him. It was almost right down the middle, and it's 1-1 to Coghlan. That's just some of the nasty break on Corey Kluber's pitches. It looked like it was going to hit Coghlan to start off, and then it ends up right down the middle. That is beautiful pitching from Corey Kluber. And I'm sure a lot of pitchers wish to be as good as the astounding Corey Kluber one day. Again, here's the 1-1 offering, and that is low and inside, 2-1 from Kluber to Chris Coghlan. Coghlan is 0 for 4, as I mentioned, in the postseason. He's up with a runner on second and 2 outs, with the Cleveland Indians leading the Chicago Cubs 2-0 here in Game 1 of the World Series. 11 straight wins from Corey Kluber when getting 2 runs of support. He got 2 runs of support in the first inning. You have to like those odds if you're the Cleveland Indians. Here's the 2-1. Outside, we're going to have a 3-1 hitters count to Chris Coghlan. Waiting on deck is another big hitter for the Chicago Cubs, all-star shortstop Addison Russell. Addison Russell looks on from the on-deck circle. But here, first, we have a 3-1 pitch to Coghlan. Kluber stares down. Here comes the 33rd pitch of the game from Kluber. And here comes the kick and the windup from the stretch. And he swung through a 2-seam fastball. It is a full count from Kluber. He continues to throw amazing breaking pitches so far in this game, confusing the Cubs hitters. That one looked like it was going down the middle and ended up inside off the plate, and Coghlan swung right through ball 4. Cleveland fans on their feet again in this game, watching as their ace tries to get out of another inning. 3-2 pitch, 2 outs with a runner on second for the Cubs. Kluber tries to get out of this inning, a full count to Coghlan. Here it comes, and he got him looking again. Corey Kluber with 5 strikeouts in the first 2 innings. And the Cleveland Indians head to the bottom of the second with a 2-0 lead on the Chicago Cubs. We will be right back to World Series baseball. I'm done with my homework. I'm about to go to bed soon as I'm through the 3rd inning. And we are back to the World Series here on Fox, returning to Game 1. The Cleveland Indians take a 2-0 lead to the bottom of the second, and due up for Cleveland is the catcher, Roberto Perez, the leadoff hitter, Rajai Davis, and the second baseman, Jason Kipnis. Roberto Perez, in the regular season, in 61 games, hit about 183 with 3 home runs, 17 RBIs. And in the playoffs, he's hitting about 174 with a home run, 2 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. So not the best numbers for the catcher, but he is a fan favorite among Cleveland fans and also a pitcher favorite among the pitchers of the Indians. So here comes returning to the mound for his second inning of work, John Lester, after giving up 2 runs in the first inning off of a Lindor single, a walk, and then followed by walks to Napoli and Santana, and then also ending with a infield single by Jose Ramirez and a hit batter to Brandon Guyer, plated 2 runs with the bases loaded before getting Lonnie Chisenhall to pop out to shortstop. So here we go. Presented another sponsor tonight for this World Series game is Goodyear. Roberto Perez steps into the box. Here's the first pitch from John Lester. It is up high, away from the strike zone. Ball 1 from Lester. He, in his first 21 innings of his World Series career, he had only given up 1 run. He gave up 2 in the first inning tonight. Here comes the 1-0 pitch to Roberto Perez, the catcher for the Cleveland Indians, and he swings through a fastball 1-1. Bottom of the second here from Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio. It is 2-0 Indians after a 2-run first inning off of John Lester and Corey Kluber's mastery of the mound, 5 strikeouts of his first 6 outs. Here comes the 1-1 from John Lester to Roberto Perez. Swings through another fastball, and Lester ahead in the count 1-2. Perez has been catching every game this postseason. After earlier in the year, he used to split time with Yan Gomes. He's taken over as the everyday catcher for the Indians, as he is a pitching favorite with Kluber and Salazar and Bauer. Here's the 1-2 from Lester. Fastball misses up and away, 2-2 from the Cubs ace. That was his 30th pitch of the game already, with just an inning of action and some change. That explains the Indians' bats really working the counts from Lester, as Lester has a combined 21-6 this year in the regular season and playoffs. And another fastball misses high. It's a full count to Roberto Perez, the Indians catcher, the 9-hitter. On deck, Rajai Davis, who struck out his first time up against Lester. And here comes the full count pitch. Lester kicks and deals. Full count pitch on the way. with no one out in the bottom of the second, and Perez pops it up. Under it is the center fielder, Dexter Fowler, called off by the left fielder, Ben Zobrist. Zobrist squeezes it, and that's the first out of the bottom of the second. Lester gets an out. If you did not watch the game earlier in the game, honored was Cleveland Indians Hall of Famer Sandy Alomar. And he threw out the first pitch of this game as well. Beautiful scene for Cleveland fans, and a beautiful scene to start this World Series. As we hit the top of the order, it's center fielder Rajai Davis stepping in as the leadoff hitter for the Indians. Here now with one out in the bottom of the second. He swings at the first pitch he sees, and that is just foul. As he got the fat part of the bat on the baseball, popped it up, and it lands in just about 5 feet into foul territory, and it is strike one from Lester. 0 for 13 in the postseason is Rajai Davis. Cleveland Indians' last World Series title came in 1968. Last World Series for the Cubs, 1908. We've got the two most depressed baseball teams dueling it out in the World Series as the 0-1 pitch is a fastball low. 1-1. Tonight's commentator is Shay Neal from Sports Talk with Shay, doing a 3-inning broadcast of the World Series. Here's a 1-1 from John Lester. And Davis fishes for it, chops it right back to Lester. Lester flips it on to Rizzo at first, and there's 2 outs. 2 quick outs for John Lester here in the bottom of the second. And Rajai Davis now 0 for 2 here in Game 1 of the World Series. As he got caught chasing a pitch out of the strike zone, all he could do was chop it back to Lester. Lester with quick reactions to kick that ball down and then scoop it up with the glove and flip it on to Rizzo. And the 2 outs here in the bottom of the second, it brings up the second baseman, Jason Kipnis, the captain of the Indians baseball team. The 31-year-old who just a couple of years ago was in line for MVP award. He's hitting 161 this postseason with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. He lined one to first base his first time up, and he takes ball 1 outside on another fastball that misses from Lester. Lester's fastball has not had very good command tonight. It has been mostly outside, also low, with a couple sprinkled in that have just been taken for hits by Lindor and Ramirez. Here's the 1-0 offering from John Lester. Outside again, this time with a slider, and it's 2-0. 37 pitches from Lester here, 2 outs in the bottom of the second. Cleveland leading 2-0 here in the Game 1 of the World Series from Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio. Here he stares down David Ross, the catcher in his final year with the Cubs, and the 2-0 pitch is another slider. This one catches the outside corner. It's 2-1, strike 1 called by home plate umpire Tom Verducci. And 2-1 offering from Kipnis as he stares at Lester. Lester kicks and fires. On deck is Francisco Lindor, who's 1 for 1 with a run scored, as Kipnis got a little bit too far under it. It is hit hard and foul, but caught by Javier Baez. A nice catch, falling down into foul territory. A 1-2-3 inning for John Lester and the Cubs. And we go to the 3rd inning, the final inning of this play-by-play broadcast, with the Indians leading 2-0 in Game 1 of the World Series. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Game 1 of the World Series from Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio. We are heading to the top of the third where the Cubs will bat for the third time this game, trailing 2-0 against the Cleveland Indians. After 2 runs were scored in the bottom of the first off of John Lester, the Cubs have only mustered 1 hit in their first 2 innings of work. In the Cleveland arms race, there have been 9 Indians starting pitchers used this year and 6 Browns quarterbacks used this year. So who will be used more when the season is over? You have to wonder. As Corey Kluber starts out the third with a strike 1 curveball, the shortstop Addison Russell. Russell's batting .189 this postseason, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and a .589 OPS. And he takes the 0-1 fastball foul down the right field line. 0-2 quickly from Corey Kluber. Addison Russell sparked the Cubs' rallies against the Dodgers with home runs in back-to-back games in the NLCS, which got the Cubs from down 2-1 to winning it 4-2. They won 3 straight games against the Dodgers in the NLCS to get to the World Series, their first World Series appearance since 1945. Here is the 0-2 pitch, and it got Russell looking. Corey Kluber with his 6th strikeout of the game. Corey Kluber can do no wrong right now, and Cleveland fans are loving it, giving Corey Kluber a standing ovation. What a game so far from the Cleveland ace, Corey Kluber. He hit Perez's spot beautifully, and Russell gone just like so many other Cubs hitters, just staring at the pitch and going back to the dugout. Now with 1 out in the top of the third, here comes the 9-hitter, David Ross, who is .182 this postseason with a home run and 2 RBIs, and he takes strike 1 up in the zone from Corey Kluber. David Ross in his final year in the MLB with the Chicago Cubs, and he has proven that he wants to go out with a title. As he takes ball 1 away, a fastball from Kluber misses outside, 1-1. And here comes the 40th pitch of the game from Corey Kluber. One pitch was a curveball from Kluber. 1-2, a strike on the inside corner. And here comes the 1-2 pitch from Corey Kluber. He's the first Indians pitcher to strike out the side in the history of the World Series. And he's looking for strikeout number 7. 1-2 offering. Ross fouls it off to stay alive, and it will stay 1-2. David Ross batting right now, and on deck is the leadoff hitter, Dexter Fowler. He's gotten Fowler looking. He's gotten Coghlan looking. He's gotten Schwarber looking. He's gotten Baez looking. He's gotten Rizzo looking. He's gotten Bryant looking. What a game so far for Corey Kluber. I wasn't sure if he could face these Cubs hitters the way he has, but he is proving me wrong, and Cleveland looking like the dominant team they've been all postseason long. Here comes the 1-2 offering to David Ross once again. Here comes the kick and fire from Kluber, and the fastball just misses outside. It'll be 2-2. Kluber continues to show his pitching mastery, continuing to hit the spot right on the money where Roberto Perez lines him up. Cleveland, 98.5% fielding success rate this season, the 11th best fielding team in Major League Baseball. But David Ross laces the 2-2 pitch into left field as 1-out single for David Ross and the Cubs. The 39-year-old veteran catcher delivers for Chicago, and it gives the Cubs a base runner going to the top of the order with Dexter Fowler. What another clutch postseason hit for David Ross. And like I was saying, 98.5% fielding rate for the Indians this year, 11th best in baseball, while the Cubs were a little worse, 98.3%, which was the 22nd best rate in baseball. And Kluber will pitch out of the stretch now with Ross on first. No threat to steal, though, is David Ross. But here is Corey Kluber pitching to Dexter Fowler, and he throws a curveball high, 1-0 to Dexter Fowler. Fowler 0 for 1. He struck out looking on a 2-2 pitch to start the game. And now bats with a runner on first and 1 out here in the top of the third. Corey Kluber pitches with a 2-0 lead here in the top of the third of Game 1 of the World Series from Cleveland, Ohio. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Strike. Fastball up and away. Got him. Corey Kluber. Tom Verducci, the reporter, and also the home plate umpire in this game. Here's the 1-1 pitch in the top of the third with 1 out. Dexter Fowler now batting .256 this postseason with a home run and 4 RBIs. And here comes a 1-1 pitch from Kluber. Fowler. Strike 2 inside corner on the fastball. And Kluber is back in the driver's seat with a 1-2 count to the leadoff man, Dexter Fowler. On deck waits Chris Bryant, the 2-hitter, the third baseman. And after Bryant, if needed, is Anthony Rizzo, the first baseman. And here's Dexter Fowler, the 1-2 pitch with Ross on first. Kluber looking for strikeout number 7. He's going to get it as Fowler swings through a fastball for out number 2 in the inning. 7 strikeouts for Corey Kluber. And the Indians an out away from getting out of the third. Corey Kluber has gotten 8 outs in this game, 7 by way of strikeout. And he continues to dominate this Cubs offense. Roberto Perez catching a beautiful game. He's the 4th pitcher in World Series history to strike out 7 batters in the first 3 innings, joining Bob Gibson, Randy Johnson, and Orlando Hernandez. Here, top of the third, it's Chris Bryant up with a runner on first and 2 outs, and Bryant swings through a curveball on the first pitch, 0-1. 48 pitches thrown from Corey Kluber today. Bryant batting .325 with a homer and 6 RBIs this postseason, but he's 0 for 1 after striking out looking at a full count in the first inning. Here comes the 0-1 from Kluber. Bryant stares him down. The 0-1 is another breaking ball. This one a slider at 85 miles an hour, and Bryant swings through it once again. It's 0-2 to the Cubs slugger. Indians fans on their feet again. Corey Kluber has given them no reason to be worried, and he's looking for his 8th strikeout in the first 3 innings. Can he do it against Chris Bryant? Here comes the 0-2. Kicks and deals. Kluber. It is fouled off. Another slider from Kluber, but Bryant just got a piece of it and fouled it off to keep the at-bat alive. 2-0 Indians here in the top of the third of Game 1 of the World Series. That was the 50th pitch of the game from Corey Kluber. With 2 outs here in the top of the third. David Ross on first after a 1-out single. Chris Bryant is facing an 0-2 count against Corey Kluber. Here comes the pitch. Kluber deals. It is high. A 94-mile-an-hour fastball way out of the strike zone. 1-2 as he tried to get Bryant to bite on that pitch and swing through it. But Bryant, with the patience, waits for his pitch. Here comes a 1-2 to Chris Bryant. Chris Bryant is 2nd year out of California, El Paso. And California, Santa Barbara. UC Santa Barbara. And Kluber struck him out on a 1-2. 8 strikeouts for Corey Kluber in the first 3 innings. That is World Series history, ladies and gentlemen. And Cleveland has a 2-0 lead as we go to the bottom half of the third, the last half inning we're going to do in this play-by-play broadcast. We will be right back to Game 1 of the World Series from Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome back to Game 1 of the World Series presented by Honda and T-Mobile. We are in the bottom half of the third inning. We're due up for the Cleveland Indians is shortstop Francisco Lindor, first baseman Mike Napoli, and designated hitter Carlos Santana. In their first at-bat, Francisco Lindor singled the center field off of Lester, which sparked the first inning rally that has given this Indians team the 2-0 lead they work with right now. And it has been held by the masterful pitching of Corey Kluber, who in 3 innings of work has given up just 2 hits with 8 strikeouts. And he has been dominant against this Cubs lineup, which many consider one of the best lineups they've seen in the 21st century. Roberto Perez has caught a magnificent game for Kluber. And we start off the bottom of the third with John Lester taking the mound here to face the shortstop, Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor again singled his first time up. And they are talking right now. We will talk to Corey Kluber and Mickey Callaway, who is the Indians pitching coach, saying that Corey Kluber has been absolutely masterful. Lester misses a fastball outside to Lindor, 1-0, here to start the bottom of the third. Lindor also stole second base in the first. He's now batting .344 this postseason with 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. Here's the 1-0 pitch. And Lindor is 2 for 2, a base hit to right field to start the bottom of the third. And continuing his absolute tear is shortstop Francisco Lindor. And it brings up Mike Napoli, the first baseman power hitter for the Cleveland Indians. Lindor continues to rake. He's now batting .357 this postseason, which is good for second in baseball, with a minimum of 30 at-bats to only Chris Bryant, who's batting .363. And here is Napoli, who drew a walk his first time up and scored a run on Brandon Guyer getting hit by a pitch. And here's the first pitch from Lester. Lester misses outside on a fastball, 1-0 to Napoli. 2-0 Indians. Lester just threw his 42nd pitch of the game. Here in the bottom of the third from Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio. It is Game 1 of the World Series. Cleveland leading 2-0 in the bottom of the third. John Lester looks at Lindor on first. Here's the 1-0 pitch from the stretch. And Napoli pops it up foul. 1-1 on another fastball thrown from Lester. And it continues to be swung on aggressively by these Indians hitters. And hopefully they're hoping connect on some long balls as this game goes on, with the slugging of Santana and Lindor and Chisenhall and Guyer and Napoli. Here's a 1-1 offering, and Napoli swings right through a fastball right down the middle. I'm sure he wishes he could have that one back, as that one was a misthrown ball from John Lester, and Napoli just couldn't swing on and couldn't make the contact with it. If he would have been able to put the barrel of the bat on that ball would still be flying into the Cleveland night air. Here's the 1-2, however, from John Lester here in the bottom of the third to Mike Napoli. Napoli looks at strike 3 right down the middle, and that is the second strikeout for Lester in this game. And then Lester, on his 45th pitch of the game, strikes out Mike Napoli for the first out of the bottom of the third. Rizzo and Ross will come to the mound to visit with Lester as Carlos Santana heads to the plate for the second time this game. Santana drew a walk first time up as well. And he will face Lester for the second time here in the World Series. No action in the Cubs bullpen, although Lester has struggled throughout the day, giving up 3 hits, as well as 2 runs, 2 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. Lester from the stretch. First pitch, Lindor tried to go. Lester did not throw back to first base, and Lindor will be safe. Lester has had, over the last couple of years, a rabid phobia of throwing to first base, and it showed there as Lindor mistimed the steal. And John Lester, if he would have had the courage to throw to first, they would have had Lindor by a long shot. But instead, he lets Lindor jog back to first. And that could end up proving costly for the Cubs. First pitch to Santana is away, ball one. 1-0 the count now, bottom third, 1 out, runner on first for the Indians. Here, Lester looks for his sign, and he winds up in the stretch. Kicks and fires. John Lester, 1-0 pitch. Lindor is stealing, it is ball two, and Ross throws him out. Second out of the bottom of the third inning, and Lindor picked off by David Ross. And Lindor asking if Cleveland can look at the replay. We will see if Cleveland decides to challenge the call. Lindor got a very good jump. That was a perfectly thrown ball from David Ross. And it looks like, according to the replay, that he is clearly out before he could get his hand on the bag. And it looks like that will be the second out of the inning for the Chicago Cubs team against the Cleveland Indians. And it is a 2-0 pitch now to Carlos Santana. We will see what the Indians decide to do, however, if they will challenge this call or if they will let it stand as an out. Again, showing another angle. And did Baez's glove get the arm of Lindor before the hand touched the bag? Lindor, they will not challenge it. It is the second out of the inning, and the Indians forfeit their base runner. Here comes the 2-0 pitch to Carlos Santana. Lester kicks and fires, and that is ball three away. 3-0 to Santana. 48th pitch of the day from John Lester. When waiting patiently on deck is the third baseman Jose Ramirez, who is 1 for 1 with a single and an RBI in this game. 3-0 pitch from Lester is low, and for the second time in this game, Carlos Santana takes his base on a walk from John Lester. Third walk of the day issued from Lester, and I guess it's crucial that David Ross threw out Lindor, or else it would be 2 runners on with 1 out for the Indians. And instead, now it's just a runner on first with 2 outs, which is still not ideal, but much more likely to get out of than 2 on with 1 out. And it brings up Jose Ramirez. Ramirez is 1 for 1 with an RBI single, which he chopped down the third baseline. Chris Bryant scooped it up but had no play, and it gave the Indians their first run of this ball game. Here pitching out of the stretch is Lester, and it misses down and away. 1-0 to Jose Ramirez. Ramirez batting .250 on the postseason with 0 home runs, but 2 RBIs from this Cleveland Indians third baseman. And here comes the 1-0 with Carlos Santana on first. Lester fires. Slider in there. Strike 1 from John Lester. What a pitch that was. That breaking ball looked like it was going to be way outside. Ended up catching the outside corner. That is a great pitch by the Cubs ace that has been throwing that kind of pitch all year. Here's the 1-1. It's a fastball low in the zone and a strike. 1-2, and Lester's 1 strike of getting out of the bottom of the third. 1-2 pitch, 2 outs, runner on first. Here in the bottom of the third with the Indians leading 2-0 in game 1 of the World Series. Jose Ramirez up with Carlos Santana on first. 1-2 pitch from John Lester. Here it comes, and it is a 2-out single for Jose Ramirez. Staying put at second is Carlos Santana, and there are 2 on with 2 outs for the Indians. Lester gives up his 4th hit of the day. And here comes Brandon Geyer, who was hit by a pitch his first time up. He will bat with runners on first and second and 2 outs here in the bottom of the third. Ramirez, a very smooth swing on that pitch, got the end of the bat on it and put it into center field. He is 2 for 2 on this day, along with Francisco Lindor. And Terry Francona will come to check on Carlos Santana. who appears to be grabbing at his knee. It looks like Carlos Santana is in pain, and will he have to be pulled from this game? That could be devastating news for the Indians. Carlos Santana, one of the leaders of this team, and as he is badly limping on his right leg. Not good for Cleveland fans. Carlos Santana, one of the big hitters and leaders of this team, limping through the infield, trying to walk off, obvious pain in his leg. And we don't know if he can continue in this game. Carlos Santana DHing tonight, but normally primarily plays first base for the Cleveland Indians. Napoli took his spot in the field tonight, but he looks like he hurt his right knee advancing to second base. Hopefully it is not a severe injury, but it looks like Carlos Santana is going to have to be pulled from this game as he is not showing any signs of improvement as he continues to heavily limp around second base. The Indians trainer out there with manager Terry Francona looking at the injury here of Carlos Santana. Santana continues to limp into the outfield now, trying to walk off, obvious pain in his right knee. And it looked like as he was advancing to second, his knee buckled as he touched the bag. I don't know if that's a hamstring or a knee, but it is obvious pain as you can, if you are watching the game. And Carlos Santana falls to his knees in the outfield. He is not even on his feet anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And Lester will take a couple practice pitches before facing Brandon Guyer. But it looks like Carlos Santana is going to have to be pulled from this game. He tries to take some water and some pain medicine, it looks like. But it is not looking good for Carlos Santana, the team's DH. Terry Francona looks like he is going to bring in a bench player to pinch run for Carlos Santana and most likely continue through the rest of the game. Who will it be? We will find out. Santana still down on his knees, and he will be helped up to his feet by the training staff. He's trying to still walk it off. John Lester, the Cubs pitcher, now stares on as Santana continues to limp. And that is obvious pain right there from a very large man as he walks back into the line of play. Indians fans giving Carlos Santana a standing ovation for his efforts to try and stay in this game. And it looks like he is going to try and stay in this game. Carlos Santana, ladies and gentlemen, will continue to play in this game, it appears. John Lester takes his spot back on the mound. Carlos Santana back on second base. Although experiencing clear pain in his leg, this is the World Series. You got to put up with it. And here comes Brandon Guyer, who was hit by a pitch his first time up, which drove in the second run for the Indians. Here comes Lester's pitch. It is outside, dropped by David Ross. Santana, though, with that bum wheel, will stay put at second base. 1-0 pitch from Lester, due up. It'll be his 55th pitch of the game. 2 outs in the bottom of the third. Runners on first and second for Cleveland with 2 outs. 2-0 Cleveland here in Game 1 of the World Series. And here's the 1-0 pitch to Brandon Guyer. Guyer crushes it deep, and it hooks foul. Guyer had a 3-run home run on his mind there, but it hooks about 30 feet foul. And we have a 1-1 pitch coming. Guyer put all of it into that one. It hit the upper deck of the stadium, but about 30 feet foul down the left field line. Terry Francona watches on as Guyer bats with 2 on and 2 outs. Here's the 1-1 pitch from John Lester. Can Lester get out of this inning for the Chicago Cubs and keep it 2-0? Or will the Indians build on this lead they have developed here in Game 1 of the World Series? Lester's 1-1 offering from the stretch is checked swing, but he did not go. Ball 2 called, and it's 2-1 to Brandon Guyer, who gets the start in left field today in front of normal left fielder Coco Crisp, who wanted an extra day off of rest from playing every game in the ALCS. So Guyer will get the start here in Game 1 of the World Series. He was hit by a pitch his first time up, and he's got a 2-1 count here. John Lester calls time. and we will do it again. 56 pitches from the Cubs ace, Jon Lester. He has been mixing up very nicely his fastball, slider, two-seamer, and curveball. Although his fastball has had trouble finding the strike zone. Here comes the 2-1. Fastball, Geyer pops it foul. 2-2 the count from Lester. And Lester looking to try, he's a strike away from getting out of this inning, effectively ending this broadcast. 2-2 with 2 on. Runner on second is Carlos Santana. Runner on first is Jose Ramirez. Here comes the 2-2 pitch from Jon Lester. Geyer waits in the box. Bottom of the third, Indians fans on their feet for Brandon Geyer. The 2-2 pitch, strike 3 looking. Jon Lester with his 3rd strikeout of the game. He gets out of the inning. Due up for the Cubs is Rizzo, Zobrist, and Schwarber. However, that will end this 3-inning play-by-play broadcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Game 1 of the World Series is not in the books, but my broadcast is. I hope you guys will leave your feedback, and maybe I will do another one for a game at Wrigley. I don't know. But I appreciate you guys listening, and I will see you guys tomorrow for episode 4 of Sports Talk. Thanks for listening, guys. Peace out.